Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just give me 2 minutes. Fine. Okay. As part of our previous classes, previous sessions, we discussed about SD, SAP sales and distribution, organizational structure, and also discussed about SAP SD, that is sales and distribution overview. So we tried to understand what is SAP SD, what are the different areas in SAP SD, and also we discussed about the organizational structure, in SAP SD. So that's what we have completed so far. In the today's class, we are going to talk about the master data and the transactional data in the SAP SD module. So that means when you are working on any business, or if you look at any company's business process, what happens? You can see there are a number of transactions. Which we create. For example, so every day we create some sales orders, right? We create some sales orders whenever the customer approaches you and the customer wanted some product. Whenever the customer wanted some product from you, then what we need to do? We have to enter a sales order for the reference of the customer requirement. So if the customer A comes to me, and if you wanted to buy 50 cars, from me, then what I need to do? I have to create a sales order in the system. Specifying that. So customer A needs 50 cars and he needs that 50 cars so and so type. So that is what I have to specify. That is what I have to create in the system, which is called sales order. So once the sales order is created, and in general what happens, all the 50 cars may not be available on the same day. So the 50 cars may be available after 15 days or 20 days or 30 days. Then what we need to do, whenever the 50 cars are ready, then I have to deliver the goods. I have to ship the goods to the customer. So for that reason, what I have to do, I have to create a delivery document. So first thing, a sales order and the customer requesting something. I have created a sales order. Now the cars are ready for the shipping process, or the cars are ready for the delivery process. Now what I need to do, I have to create a delivery document. So that means in order to deliver the goods to the customer, I have to create a reference document in the system. So I am delivering the goods physically from the warehouse or the plant. But at the same time, to reference the process what I am doing outside the SAP, I need to create a document called delivery, outbound delivery. It's called outbound delivery. So why it is outbound delivery? Because the goods are going out from the company. The goods are going out. So since you are making an activity which is sending the goods outside of your company or outside of your plant or outside of outbound to your warehouse, then it is called as a outbound delivery. So sales order and delivery. And then once the delivery is completed, what we need to do, we have to create a billing document. We have to create a billing document for the transaction what you make, for the shipping, for the delivery what you made. So why the billing document? With reference to billing document only, by using the billing document only, we get the payment from the customer. That means we receive the sales order and we also did the delivery, and now in order to get the payment from the customer, we have to create a billing document. So this is these are the different transactions. These are the different transactions what we create day to day in our business process. So in order to support all these day to day transactions, what we have to do, the same thing has to be entered. The same thing has to be supported by SAP. In other words, SAP supports SAP ERP. SAP ERP supports whatever the business, whatever the sales processes or whatever the sales activity you do in your business, that can be supported, that will be supported by the SAP in the form of creating a sales order, creating a outbound delivery, creating the billing document. In the similar way, if you look at the purchasing side in the sense, so sales is the process which we sell something to the customer. We deliver, we ship something to the customer, we sell, we make a sales to the customer. Whereas purchasing means, in order to produce the cars, what we need? We need some raw materials. Like we need some tires, we need some panels, we need some engine, or we need car seats, or windows, glasses, everything. So we need to buy those products. We need to buy those products from the supplier or the vendor. So in order to fulfill the vendor process, or in order to fulfill the purchasing process, what we need? So we have to create a purchase order. We have to create a purchase order. That means whenever you wanted to buy tires for the 50 cars, you need to approach a vendor, you need to approach a supplier. The supplier who will provide the goods to you to assemble or to make the car. So you need to create a purchase order. And then what you have to do, once the tires are ready, your vendor will deliver the goods. Your vendor will give the goods, will send the goods to your company. That means you are receiving the goods. Your vendor is sending the goods inbound to your company. That is called inbound delivery. Okay. Actually, our intention is to understand the sales process, that is SD module. But in order to make you understand what is transaction, what is transactional data, or how many types of transactional data available in the system, I am just trying to make you understand from the purchasing side also. Okay, sales side, we have sales order, we create a sales order to the customer, delivery to the customer, billing to the customer. So this is what we do. These are the transactions what we create when you are sending the goods outside, when you are selling the goods, when you are making a sales to the customer. Whereas whenever you are getting the goods inside, whenever you are buying the goods, whenever you are purchasing the goods from the vendor, then we have to create a purchase order, and then you have to create a inbound delivery, because you are receiving the goods inside to your plant. That is inbound delivery. But previously you are sending the goods outside, that is outbound delivery. So both delivery process, one delivery is receiving and other delivery is out, like sending out. That's why you call it as outbound delivery in SD module and inbound delivery in the MM module. And The third one is when you receive the goods, you need to pay to your vendor, right? Since you get the goods from the vendor, you need to make the payment to the vendor. You need to give the money to the vendor. So that's why you create vendor invoice. Whereas here you create a customer billing document or customer invoice in the sales side. From the sales and distribution, from the sales process, you create customer invoice or the customer billing document. Whereas from the vendor side, you create vendor invoice because you have to pay to the vendor. So like this, if you look at any business process, if you look at any company, these are the different kind of transactions. Sales orders, outbound deliveries, billing document, and purchasing side, purchase order, inbound delivery, and vendor invoice. So these are the different kind of transactions what we create day to day. So these transactions are called as transactional data. These transactions are called as transactional data. So that means if you look at any company, there are two different kinds of data. Mainly there are two different kinds of data. One is the transactional data and the second one is the master data. So transactional data is the data which is created by your business users on a daily or day-to-day business purpose. Every day, or some companies will create 100 transactions a day. Some companies create 1,000 transactions a day. Some companies create 10,000 transactions a day. For example, if you look at Microsoft or if you look at Apple, they make like 10,000 or 100,000 transactions per day because the business volume is more. If you look at very small company, it may create 10-15 transactions per day. So like this, you need to understand in any business, there is a data called transactional data. And then there is one more data type is also there that is called master data. So the one which we discussed right now, that is the transactional data. And there is one more data type which is called as master data. So what is master data? So for example, you are creating a sales order. The customer X contacted you and you are creating a sales order for the customer X. Okay, when you are creating the sales order, let us go to the system. We'll see, we'll understand. Okay, by the way, this is SAP system. For the new team members, I will schedule one more class on that overview, whatever we completed and how to log into the system. And right now, whatever you can understand, try to understand that. And when I conduct the special classes, I will cover. I will refresh one more time. Okay, so if I want to create a sales order in SAP for creating anything like to create a sales order, to create a delivery, to create a billing document, to create the purchase order, to create the inbound delivery, to create the vendor invoice, or if you want to perform any activity in SAP, you need to use transactions. For any activity which you perform in SAP, by using a transaction code, called like VA01, VA02, XD01, XD02, VB01, VB02, like that, SAP has given 4-digit transaction code to reach out to the screen. I mean to say that if you want to create a sales order, what you need to do? You have to get into the sales order creation screen, right? This is SAP system. It has many things. It has many things. Like it has like order process, it has delivery process, it has billing process, or it has purchase order process, it has work order process, it has process order process. It is everything. SAP has everything related to the sales, everything related to the materials management, that is procurement, purchasing, and also everything related to the production, everything related to the finance, everything related to the HR. It has everything. But in order to reach out a specific screen, what SAP did, SAP provided 4-digit transaction code, which will help you or which will directly take you to that screen. Otherwise, if you don't use the 4-digit screen, if you do not use the 4-digit screen, you know what happens? For example, you need to go like this. Okay, to reach out a screen called sales order creation, screen, there are two ways. In order to get into the sales order creation screen, in SAP, there are two ways. There are two different ways which you can use. One is called menu path. Using the SAP menus, you can go there. Let us see how it goes. So to reach out the sales order creation screen, you can go to the logistics, because logistics in the sense like all the sales and purchasing, production, and all supply chain. So whatever the processes involve, receiving the goods and sending the goods and contacting the vendor, getting the goods from the vendor, receiving the goods from the vendor, making the payment to the vendor, and making a product at the plant. So these kind of modules are called logistics module. Logistics related module like sales, materials management, and production planning. Especially these three modules are called like logistics module. So now where do you want to go? We wanted to get into the sales order creation screen. Now I wanted to create a sales order for my customer. So in order to create a sales order for my customer, what I have to do? I have to get into the sales order creation screen. For that, as I mentioned, as I already told you, there are two different ways. One, I can use menu path, and the other one I can use like transaction code. Let me show you this.
Look at system access.
I will get it by Sunday evening, Vijay. Thank you for reminding me. I will get it by Sunday evening for both you and Umaira. Okay. I hope you have received all the documents, right, Vijay?
Yes, I have received.
Okay, thank you for the confirmation. So to reach out the sales order creation screen, two different. Okay, so one is using the menu path, another one is using the T code. Okay, so what is the menu path? Go to the logistics and then go to sales and distribution. Go to logistics and then go to sales and distribution. So under the sales and distribution, what you want to do? You wanted to create a sales order. Go to sales. So you wanted to create a sales order, right? Then go to the order. So here, what is there? There is a name called create VA01. Create order. So what is it? SAP is giving an option to create a sales order using the menu path. You have to go to logistics, you have to go to sales and distribution, you have to go to sales, and you also need to go to order and then click create the order. If you want to create a new order, if you want to create a new sales order, what you have to do? You have to click on VA01, that is create sales order. But if you want to change an existing order, for example, you have created a sales order yesterday. But you found that the sales order was created with wrong quantity. The sales order was created with 100 quantity instead of the sales order was created with 100 cars instead of 95 cars. So you found that the order was created with wrong quantity, like 5 additional quantity. Now you wanted to change that. Then where do you need to go? Then you need to go to the VA02. That is like order change. You wanted to change the order. Whereas sometimes you wanted to just see the order. You wanted to display the order. You just wanted to see how the order was created. So what was the quantity? What was the delivery date? Who was the customer? Who is the ship to party? That means to whom we are delivering the goods. Like this, you wanted to see all those details for the order which you created long back, maybe yesterday, maybe last week, whatever it is. Then you need to go to the display. So that means for each and every process, for each and every activity, SAP has given different transactions. Okay. So if you wanted to reach out the sales order creation screen, okay, using the menu path, what you need to do, you have to go to the logistics, you have to go to the sales and distribution, and then sales, and then order, and then create. So that means you need to remember 5 different paths, and also you need to remember, okay, where it is exactly located, which is also taking time consuming. So it's not just to remember, all the 5 paths, right? It also taking some time, like going here, and going here, and going here to reach every section. In order to create a sales order, it is taking so much time. So that is the reason what SAP did. SAP provided an option called using the transaction code. So 99% of the times you do not need to use the menu path. Maybe you can use it if you do not remember the transaction code. There are plenty of transaction codes. There are plenty of transaction codes in SAP, but right now you may not understand. But going forward, I will make you understand, because there is a simple way to remember. There are different ways. There are simple ways to remember all the T codes, all the transaction codes. Even though you feel it is difficult now to remember, but going forward, I will give you the easy ways. I will provide you the easy ways to remember the T codes. Okay. So what SAP has provided? SAP has provided a T code, transaction code called VA01, which is for creating the sales order. Okay. And for changing the sales order, SAP has given, okay, VA02, change sales order. Okay. And then for display the delivery, VA03. So like this, SAP has provided, many transaction codes. Even for the delivery, SAP has, for creating the outbound delivery, SAP has provided one more transaction code, VL01N. So basically, actually the transaction code is VL01. The transaction code is VA01. The reason for adding SAP N is, N means new. N means new, because some old transaction code has been removed from the system, and SAP introduced a new screen and making, by adding the N to the T code. But it is actually not the T code part. It's specifying, it is telling you new. It is a new transaction code. VL01 is a new transaction code. It is telling VL01N like this, and then change, you can understand, VL02. So please remember, always 1 means create, 2 means display, and 2 means change, and 3 means display. So for example, let me write here so that you can understand. VL03N. So this is for, outbound delivery. Change outbound delivery. Display, same thing. Outbound delivery. And then billing. VF01. Create billing document. VF02. Change billing document. And then VF03, display billing document. So what you understood here, if you look at like the sales order creation, if you look at the sales order creation transaction codes, You can see that, okay, 01 VA01, okay. And one more thing, if you can observe it very closely, like let me show you, like these are sales related, okay. These are sales related transaction codes, SD module related T codes. Just keep it in mind. And I wanted to write, the MM related transaction codes as well. MM means purchasing, materials management, purchasing. Purchasing means you are buying the raw material from the suppliers. Purchasing process means the process of purchasing raw materials or the goods from the suppliers or the vendors. Sales means the process of selling the goods to the customer. The process of selling the goods to the customer. This is one module. The process of selling the goods to the customer is handled by the SD module, is handled by the sales module. The process of purchasing the goods from the vendor handled by the one more module called MM module. Okay, the MM module transaction codes are like this. Okay, ME21 N is for create purchase order. ME22 is change purchase order. And ME23N is display purchase order. Okay, so like this, even there is something called ME51N create purchase requisition, like ME52N change PR, that is same purchase requisition, and ME53N is display purchase requisition. So if you observe it very closely, what is one simple pattern you can see? All the sales related transaction codes are starting with what? V, right? You observe it? All SD module, like create the sales order, change the sales order, display the sales order, all SD module related transactions are starting with V. Okay, so that is very simple way to remember what transaction related to what area. Okay, which transaction related to what area. Very high level, the very high level approach of understanding or remembering the T codes. If you look at MM transactions, all starting with the M. In the similar way, if you look at transaction codes for the finance, it starts with something else. If you look at the transaction codes of plant maintenance, it starts with something else. Like this, each basically very high level. Each and every module transaction source, the starting digit, the starting character is like it's unique, like sales related transactions starting with the V and very high level. That is the one point. And then if you can see the next similar pattern, this pattern is applicable for all the modules. So for example, okay, VA01. So VA01 is for what? Create the sales order. Okay, so all create transactions you can see, one, either G01, VA01 or ME21N. Like if you can see any transaction code ending with 1, like VA01, ME21 or FB01 or XK01. So anything, any transaction ending with the 1, that you can say it is a transaction designed for creating something, like create the order, create the purchase order, create the work order. or create the process order, create the financial order. Any transaction code ending with the 1, that is a, like you can say, create purpose. So you can see that here. And then change. If you can see any transaction like ending with 2, okay, VA02 or ME22 or VL02, like change delivery, change outbound delivery, or change billing document, VF02, or change purchase requisition 52. Like any transaction code, any 4-digit transaction code ending in the 4-digit with a 2, that means change of the transaction. And then if any transaction is meant for display, if you look at any transaction 3, VA03, VL03 or VF03 or ME23 or ME53, or we have like some transaction codes for the display the customer, XD03 or XK03, like this. So any transaction code ending with the 3, that you can say it is a display transaction. Okay, like this the transaction code pattern. Generally, like we need to understand that pattern. Once you understand the pattern, it is very easy to remember the transaction codes. Otherwise, you feel it's very difficult, because this SAP product was developed by Germany. This SAP product, SAP ERP. This SAP ERP product or SAP ERP software was developed by Germany people. Here what happens, while developing the SAP by the Germany people, they create the names for their convenience. So if we know the Germany, if you can speak the Germany, if you can write the Germany, if you know the Germany, it is very easy, because in German language it makes sense. So VA01 or VA02 or VA03, everything it makes sense to the Germans, because the Germans developed the product. They give the names to the transaction codes their own way. So for us it's a new thing. Since it is a new thing, it is very difficult to understand what transaction code it is, what is meant by VA02 or what is meant by VA03 or what is meant by ME21. For us it's difficult. But for the Germans, it is their own language. So from in their language, they have their own reason. So that because of the reason, you found some difficulty, but I found as part of my training process, I found some easy methods. Remember, so this way I will explain in the future also, so that you will be easily get it. It will not take much time. Okay, so this is about the transactional. Okay, now actually we are actually all this discussion come for to get into this stream. So VA01. So now you just understand the transactional code pattern. You just understand the transaction code pattern, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to and also I explain the transaction. I also explain the transactional data as well. Like what is transactional data, I already explained. So now I wanted to make you understand what is the master data. So as I mentioned while beginning the class, there are two types of data elements. There are two types of data. There are two types of data categories, or the data types, or the data elements. Those two are transactional data and the master data. Transactional data you already understood. So transactional data means the data which you create on a daily basis. The data which you create on a daily basis, like orders, deliveries, billing, purchase orders, process orders, like production orders, whatever the data you create on a daily day-to-day activities, that data is called as transactional data. Okay, and the second thing is the master data. So in order to make you the master data, in order to make you what is master data, in order to make you understand what is master data, I'm reaching out the sales order creation screen. Okay, so this is the way how you can go to the sales order using the menu path. Okay, what is the next way? The other way to create the sales order is, okay, so now you are in beginning screen. Now you are in the beginning screen. So here now you wanted to create a sales order. So as I already mentioned, there are two different ways to go to the sales order creation screen. The one, you can use the menu path like logistics, sales and distribution, sales order create. Or to save the time, if you can remember easily the T code VA01, see what is going to happen. See, it is directly taking you to the sales order creation screen. You do not need to go to the logistics. You do not need to go to the sales and distribution. You do not need to go to the sales. You do not need to go to the order, and you do not need to click on the create. Just use the transaction code. It is taking you to the sales order creation screen. So here, just give me 1 minute. So I will explain you what is this order type and other things little later. Actually, it is too early. Let us try to understand the transactional data and the master data in the today's class. And in the next class, we'll talk about the remaining things. So I am creating a transaction. I'm creating a sales order transaction, or I'm creating the sales order for which system asks me. So in order to create the sales order in SAP, what system is asking me? System is asking me, you see, the system is asking me to enter the order type, because there are different type of orders, right? So there may be like export order, the sales order which I am creating to export the product, right? It is export order, right? In the similar way, there may be an order which I am creating for giving the samples. So to give the samples to employees, to give the samples to the customer, I am creating an order. Then it may be the sample order, or there is one more order which I am creating for employee purpose, just for employees. So that means the sales order for employees. Okay, then I need to select that specific order type. Or there is one more order which is specially I am creating for a Canada customer, which I can do. I can create a different order type for the Canada people, or I can create an order for free of charge delivery. Okay, that means I'm going to create an order. I'm not going to charge anything for the delivery process. So like this, whatever the different kind of the sales processes you do in the system, the sales processes you do in the business, for all those type of orders, SAP has provided different order types, the different sales order types. So if you, while creating the sales order, every time you need to specify the sales order type. Before starting creating the sales order, you need to specify the order type. So I will explain you what it controls little later. Okay, it is too early. Let us understand the master data and the transactional data, but then once after finish that, we will understand that. So order type I selected, so regular standard order, so it's a very standard order. And then I also need to select the organizational data. I also need to select the organizational data. So what is organizational data? For example, when I am doing the the sales transactions, I may be having different areas. You can say the southern region, north region, south region, western region. We have different regions. Or for example, some companies, they wanted to categorize the sales into different states. Okay, all the AP under one section or one area, they can say, and all UP or Maharashtra, you can say different state-wise sales. They wanted to do the state-wise sales, or you can say the country-wide. So all the country they wanted to consider as one division or one area. So that means while creating the sales order, while creating the sales order, you need to tell the system for which sales organization, or at what sales organization level, That means whether you are creating the sales order for US sales organization level or India sales organization level or UK sales organization level, you need to tell. That means whenever you are making any transaction, it should belongs to some sales organization. It should belongs to some area, right? We cannot create a sales order for all over the world countries. If you are doing the business in 10 countries, you cannot create the sales order at all 10 sales organization level or the 10 countries level. There should be some kind of decentralization. So what is the use of like decentralizing? The decentralizing makes your reporting easier. So for example, you create a sales order without specifying the sales order, or you can say you create a sales order for all over the world, like for 10 countries. That means without specifying the country, you created a sales order. You are creating the transactions. What happens for all the 10 countries? There may be 10 million transactions. For all the 10 countries, there may be 10 million transactions. So whenever you wanted to execute a report, what is going to happen? If you do not have any organizational levels, if you do not specify any organization and you try to execute the sales order list, what do you think? How much time the system needs to execute, to display all the 10 lakhs or 10 million, all the 10 million transaction codes, 10 million transactions, 10 million sales orders? How much time it requires? It requires so much time, right? It requires at least 10-15 minutes to display all the sales orders, because you are not specifying any country, you are not specifying any organization level, just wide open you are running. But whereas if you ask the system display the sales orders just for US or just for India, just for Canada, just for UK, then what is going to happen? There will be less burden to the system, because you are giving a criteria, you are giving an option to the system to look at only a specific country. If you do not specify the country, then it has to look at all the countries' sales transactions and it has to pick all the list of orders. Whereas if you can specify an organizational level like Canada, US, UK, India, then the system only needs to look at that specific country, which is a less burden. It can exclude all other countries' transactions, because we don't need. I just need US transactions, and the system can only look at the US country or US sales organization, and then it can display. If I do not specify, then it has to look at all, which is a very big activity for the system. So that is the reason what we do. Actually, this organizational data was already completed in the previous week, and whoever missed it, I will send you the recording and we will have a special class. Okay. So now we need to specify the organizational data. We need to specify the sales order, and also we need to specify the distribution channel. Distribution channel means what kind of channel you are using to sell the product to the customer. That means if you can look at the business process, that there are some wholesalers, right? Mostly, like in our places we can always come across wholesaler, retailer, right? So that means if you are creating this order, for the wholesaler purpose, you need to say the distribution channel is the wholesaler. If it is for retailer, the retailer sales process, you can select the retailer. The distribution channel is retailer. if you are selling this product directly, so direct sales, door to door sales, then you can select the distribution channel is the direct distribution channel. So like this, you will create dealer sales, distribution sales, retailer sales. Like this, you need to specify. That means whenever you are creating a sales order, in the initial screen, you need to specify, okay, what kind of order it is, whether it is the free of charge order, whether it is the domestic order, whether it is the export order, whether it is employee order, whether it is sample order, we need to specify. That is called order type. And then you need to tell the system at what organizational level you are creating the order, like this order. That is what sales organization. And then you need to tell what is the distribution channel you are using to deliver the product. That means to sell this product, whether you are using the dealer or retailer or direct door-to-door marketing. That also you need to specify. And you also need to specify the division. So division means different products belongs to different divisions. For example, there are some products belongs to the detergent division, like all detergent soaps, like kind of thing. Or there are some products belongs to, like if you look at the cars, there are different divisions you can say, like consumer automobiles or commercial automobiles, or in other words, make you easily understand, like a four-wheeler or like four-seater or the seven-seater. Okay, it's called sedan or minivan or SUV. Like you need to specify what division, under what division this order's product belongs to. So like this, you need to, I will explain little later. I will forward the recording, I will explain little later. You need to specify like sales order. You also need to specify distribution channel. You also need to specify the division as well. So this is what you need to do while creating the order. Okay, let me enter. Okay, so now I am into sales order creation screen. Okay, so now tell me, what is the very first thing system is asking? To create the sales order, what the system is asking me? Enter
Sold
the
to party.
sold to party. The system is asking me enter the sold to party. Okay, let me copy from the other order. So you also need to give the reference with reference to what PO. What is the reference PO to create the sales order? We cannot simply create, right? We cannot simply create a sales order. What you need to do while creating the sales order, you need to get several reference from your customer. Okay, the customer has to give the reference. Okay, this is the reference, and with the reference you create a sales order. For that reason, you need to enter the what is the reference to create the sales order. Okay, and then what you need to specify the material as well. Okay, enter the quantity. So now I have to explain something else. Okay, so now you tell me, in order to create a transactional data, or while creating the transactional data, what is mandatory for us? This screen, what data is mandatory or what is mandatory? Even in general, not at SAP level. You just think about general business sales, the general sales process. If any company is creating a sales order, what they need, the minimum things, they need to know who is the customer, right? They need to know who is the customer. They also need to know who is which is the material. They also need to know what is the material, who is the customer and what is the material. So that means the customer data and the material data is the customer data and the material data is the prerequisite. It is a prerequisite data to create the transactions. So that means my next question is, without the customer master or without the customer details or without the material, can we create a transaction? Can you create a sales order?
No.
No, right? It does not make any sense. If you don't have the customer, if you don't have the material, to whom you create a transaction? You cannot create the transaction. So in order to create a sales order, you need to know who is your customer for the sales order, who is your, sorry, what is your material, for the transaction. So that is why what you need the customer data and also you need the material data. So that means what? Before start creating the transactional data or before start creating the transaction, what data you should have created in first place? Before start creating the transactions, like before start creating the sales order, before start creating the billing, before start creating the delivery, or before start creating any transactional data, what data element should have been created in first place? Like customer master or the material master. Am I correct? Customer master or the material master. That means the customer should have been created in first place and also the material should have been created in first place. So those customer data, those customer details or the material details, or in other words, the customer data and the material data is called as master data. What is it? Master data. So now you understood what is the transactional data and what is the master data. Okay. If you look at our screen, okay. So in order to create a sales order, you need the customer and you also need the material. Okay. Those customer and those materials, the customer's data and the material data is called as master data. So master data is not a day-to-day data. So for example, if you create a customer today, let us say I have created a customer master, I have created a customer record, I have created a customer record for the customer X. I have created a customer record. Do I need to create that customer data every day for the X or for Raghu or for X or for Y? Do I need to create every day? No, right? It's only one time, right? It's only one time setup. So once I set up the customer data for X customer, that's there forever. Maybe I can make some small changes. I can make some small changes, but I don't create every day customer record for the Raghu, and I don't need to create customer record every day for Salim, or I don't need to create customer record for no ABC, right? It's only one time setup. Am I correct? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. In the similar way, if you look at the material, so material, you are selling 100 products as of today. You are selling 100 materials or 100 products. So what you do? You create 100. You maintain data for 100 products today. So do you need to maintain one more time 100 products tomorrow? No, right? Once you create the record for the material, it is forever. Okay. That means the master data is the data which you set up only one time. But the transactional data is only one time. No, right? Every day the transactional data keep creating. You create 10 transactions today for one customer. Tomorrow you create 10 more transactions for the same customer. Day after tomorrow you create 10 more transactions for the same customer. That means the transactional data is the data which is creating on daily basis. Whereas the master data is the data which is set up only one time. The master data is the data which only set up one time. You do not create the master data every day same. You don't create the same master data every day. It's only one time. So like what kind of master data you create in the system? You need to create the customer master, right? You need to create the customer master. You need to create all your customers in the system. Am I correct? You need to create all your customers in the system. For example, if you are dealing with if you are dealing with 1,000 customers, what you need to do? You need to create all the 1,000 customers. You need to create all the 1,000 customers in the system before you start making the transaction. Why? If you do not create the customer master, can you able to create the transaction? Without customer, can you able to create the transaction?
No.
No, right? Okay. And the similar way, without creating the material, can you able to create the transaction?
No.
Okay. In the similar way, when you are creating the sales order, okay, how do you know what is the sales order value? How do you know what is the sales order value? What is required to know what is the sales order value, or to know what is the the material value for each and every material value in the order? What do you need to know?
Price of the selling price.
So you need to know the price of the product, right? You need to know the price of the product. So then how does the system know? So now I am in creating the sales order. So I wanted to create a sales order for the material 6050. I wanted to create a sales order for the material 6050. Now, if I wanted to create a sales order for the material 6050 and quantity is 10, quantity is the 10. So how my system knows it is the total value of 10 products is $100?
Because we have pricing, we'll have pricing for this.
That means we need to help the system. We need to help the system by specifying what is the price of each product, right? What is the price of this material? Am I correct or not? So if you don't specify the price, if you do not maintain the price in the system, so let us say you don't maintain any record, you don't maintain any price in the system for the product. That means you do not enter any price for the product 6050. You did not enter anything. Then do you think the system able to determine the net value? Do you think the system is able to tell you what is the total value of the sales order?
No.
No, right? So that means the system is not able to determine the price of the sales order if you don't enter the price data, right? The price data also, it's one time, right? Generally the price maybe changes, but you don't create every day different price, right? Maybe once in a month or once in a while, once in 6 months, once in 1 year, what you can do, you can change the price, but it's again the price data also one time data. That means in order to create the sales order, what you need, first of all, you need the customer data, that is called customer master. To create a transactional data, to create a sales order, what you need the customer data, okay, and also you need the material data. So this customer data is called customer master record, or the customer master data. Since it is a master data, we are calling it as a customer master data, and it is a material, right? It is a product. That is why in SAP we are calling it as a material master data. This is customer master data, this is material master data. And also what data is required, what other master data is required for the system, we also need something called price master data. So how do you maintain the price master data? We maintain the price in the form of conditions. Condition master. Condition means we create, actually you will understand that while discussing the pricing, okay? So here what happens, we create condition master data. Condition master data means you create a condition record for each and every product. That means you create a record in which you tell the price of this product is $10. The price of this product X is $10. The price of product Y is $20. So in order to tell the system what is the price of each product, what you create a condition master data. That's why we also have one more master data, condition master data, customer master data, and also material master data. Okay, we have basically customer master data, we also have the material master data, we also have the condition master data. So once you provide customer master data, material master data, condition master data, then only the system is able to proceed further to create the sales order. So I will show you how it's too early, but try to understand. Price. If I want to see the price of the sales order, if I want to see the price of the sales order for the material, if I want to see the price of the product in the sales order, what I need to do, I need to select this line. I need to select this line and double click on it and go to the conditions Okay, if I go to conditions, you can see I can see the condition price PR00. Okay, if I select this and go to the condition record, so this is a record. This is a price condition record. So what I specified here, I specified for the material 6050, the price is $10. For the material 6050, the price is $10. So $10, one for $10 each, one for each. So like this, since I maintain each product is $10 of 6050, since I maintain that 6050 material, each product is $10, then what happens? System is able to determine price here. 10 into 10, $100. So if I change the quantity, then what happens? The system is going to change the net value, because we specify $10 each, and 20 multiplied by 10 is $200. That means what the system needs? The system needs the help of condition master and the price master to determine the price in the sales order. So that means whatever the data which will help you, okay, to create the transactional, and whatever the data which you set up one time setup, so that data is called as master data. That is condition master data. The condition master data is nothing but the price master data, and then the customer master data. That is, creating the customer record in the system, and also the material master data. That is the product master data. And one more master data is also called as customer material info record. So it is like this. Customer material information means, if you can observe it, some business process, we call the product with one name. The company calls the product one name. Let us say Apple. So Apple call it as iPhone. Okay, Apple always create. In other words, Apple consider in the system. Apple consider Apple phone or iPhone. Apple consider iPhone in the system and create a record with the product name as iPhone 6, iPhone 7, iPhone 8, or iPhone 9, iPhone 10. That is what Apple call it as. Okay, but whereas the customer call it as, the customer who is buying the product, he may be calling as, okay, Apple phone, or he may be calling as a smartphone. So that means company is referring the same for one product. Company is referring one name. Company is calling as one name, and whereas the customer is having their own name. So whenever you have this kind of situation, you need to tell the system. For those products, you need to tell the system, okay, what is company's name, okay, what is the actual product? In other words, what is actual product name, and what is customer name? What the customer call that product? That means the customer material name. That means some products are having two names. One is actual name given by the company, another one the customer material name. That means the customer is also calling it as different name. The customer calling it the product as a different name. So whenever you have such kind of cases, okay, or in other words, very simple. IBM produces the laptops, okay, but IBM don't call it as a IBM don't call it. IBM uses the laptops, okay. IBM don't call it as a notebook, okay. IBM call it as a notebook, not the laptop. Generally, everybody calls it. Everybody call it as a laptop, but IBM calls it as a notebook. So IBM perspective, it is a notebook. That means when IBM producing the notebooks, when IBM manufacturing the notebooks, in IBM perspective, it is a notebook. But whenever they are producing, whenever they are selling the customer, if the customer calling it as a laptop, that means what is the customer material name? The company name is notebook. The company calling it as a notebook, whereas the customer calling it as a laptop. Then the customer material name is laptop, and the actual material name is the you can say notebook. So like this, you need to maintain some master data called customer material information record. So customer material, the name itself is showing that customer material information record. So this is also one kind of master data. So if you have any products which are referred with different name by the customer, then what you need to do, you have to create that customer material information record. You need to create a customer material information record in the system. That is called customer material information record. So one is the condition master for the pricing, to determine the price by the system. So if you want the system calculate the price automatically, if you want SAP system to determine, to identify the price for a product automatically, what help you need to do? You have to create a price master, condition price master in the system. If you create one time, that's it. Every time when you create order, sales order, system goes back to your record and get the price and show the net value. And you also need the customer material master and material master, customer master data and the material master, because without these two you cannot proceed further. That's why you also need this master data, that's customer master data and the material master. And also you have one more master data, that is called customer material information record. Whenever your customer is referring the product with a different name, whenever the customer is referring with the different name, then you need to give that name also in the system. You need to maintain a record in the system. You can see here, if you go to the sales order, you see what is it? 6050, right? Or if you can go. So this is our order which we are creating, 6050, and then quantity, and then description. Description of the product is like our company description. And what is it? Customer material number. So if you have any different name, when this field will be filled, when this field will be updated, this field will be updated only if this material is called by the customer with a different name. That means if you create any customer material information record, any customer material information record in the system, then only the system goes to that record, goes to this record, then the system goes to this record, and determine the name here, the customer material name here. Otherwise it will be blank, because it is not that all the products are having the different names by the customers, right? Only very few products, right? You agree with me? Do you think all the products are having the different names by the customers? No, only very few products. In only in those cases, what you need to do, you have to create this record, so that when you create a sales order, system will display the customer name also. System will display the customer name as well. Okay, so that is what the customer material information record. And there is also something called output master data. Actually, it is too early. We will discuss it once we understand some other basics, some other processes we will discuss. Okay, so now coming back to today's topic, as part of today's session, we have discussed about two different datas. We understood what is transactional data, and we also understood what is master data. Transactional data is the data which you create on daily basis. Okay, like orders, deliveries, billing documents, purchase orders, or no any other things, like whatever the transaction you make for for your daily business activity, daily business process, that is the transactional data. Whereas master data is one-time setup. The master data is a prerequisite for the transactional data. So now you tell me, is it possible to you? Is it possible for anyone to create a transactional data without the master data? No, right? Without master
No.
data, you cannot proceed, even single step while creating the sales order. That means the master data is the base for, starting the transactional data to move towards the transactional data. So that's why, like, the master data, we have different kind of master data: customer master data, material master data, condition master data, and customer material information record master data. We also have the output master data, which we will discuss later. Okay, and in the tomorrow's class, we will go a very detail of each and everything. Okay, what is customer master data, how to create the customer master data, what is the T code for the customer, what is the transaction code to create the customer master data. Okay, and what data need to be entered, what data needs to be entered in the customer master data. Like that, we can see in the tomorrow's class. Okay, thank you for joining today's, and tomorrow same time, 7:30 AM EST. Please join. Okay, and I will be converting this recording in a couple of hours. Once I convert the recording, I will share it, and I will also share the server access by tomorrow end of the day. Okay, thank you.